Hi everybody and welcome to Business Class, a series of online sessions designed to help your business fly. I'm your host, Gurpreet Gill, and in this session we'll be joined by our Starling expert, Adnan Ahmed, Head of Strategy. We'll be taking you through the ins and outs of creating a winning business plan and best ways to guarantee success.
Just a bit about me, I've been at Starling for 3 years, helping with loads of different things such as our fundraising, mergers and acquisitions work, strategic partnerships and other strategic projects like international expansion.
Cool, thank you. So just like yourself, Adnan, I've been with Starling for over 2 years now, and I provide relationship management support to our business banking customers. I'm also on hand to support with any questions our customers may have. But what's best of all is I get to speak with amazing customers all the time. Now, in this part of the session, we're going to break it into 3 parts. So part 1, financing, part 2, pitching, and part 3, creating a business plan. So Adnan, let's imagine I'm a startup business and I've just opened an account with Starling, or an established business looking for extra cash. I could put what I have into the business, but if I'm looking to raise extra cash, how would I go about doing this?
Before you even do that, there are 3 really important areas you need to consider. The first is the type of financing you're after. Equity financing or debt financing through a bank loan. There are pros and cons to both. With debt financing or getting a bank loan, your main con is the fact that you need to show that you have a track record as a business, that you're getting revenue coming in and that you can afford a loan. Those checks can be quite stringent and quite difficult to get financing, particularly if you're an early stage business. On the equity side, it's very, very tempting and very, very easy to give away equity in order to pay for things, particularly when you start off and cash is at a premium. That leads me to my second point, though, which is that you need to be able to manage your equity. You need to make sure you don't give away so much equity that you have diluted yourself out, so that when you get to later rounds, you don't actually have anything to give away, and you've lost control of your company. The third point is time. So it's a really grueling process to go out and raise capital. Your first priority, after all, is running your business day to day. So you need to make sure, if you're going to embark on this process, that you have the infrastructure or support in place to do both at the same time.
Well, thanks, Adnan. That's great. So what are my options here?
So there are a lot of options out there. So one of the top ones that most early stage founders use is friends and family, whether it's for a loan or for an equity investment. So generally, this is, as it says on the tin, it's people you know and have a personal relationship with. The pros of this is that often you get great terms. So, they're not going to take a large portion of your company. If they give you a loan, it's probably going to be very low interest rate or interest rate free. The cons are, of course, it's a personal relationship and you have to be ready to open yourself up to them commenting on your business, critiquing it, and if things go bad, it could also damage your long-term relationship. So that's something that you have to consider personally. So another option you have are angel investors. So angel investors are accredited individuals who are investing their own money. Think Dragon's Den. The pros are that they are literally personally invested in your business, so they want you to do well, and they'll mentor you through the early stage of growing your business. The cons are, of course, that they will exert a lot of control. And they don't actually have much more funds to put in. They generally try to keep it quite small. So in terms of follow-on rounds, they won't be the person that you'd go to sort of scale and grow your business thereafter. After that, there's VCs. So VCs are institutions or individuals who aren't investing their own money. They're investing a pool of funds, which they've raised from large institutions, ultra-high net worth individuals. And the pros with a VC is that they have very deep pockets. So you'll get a large initial investment. And if you need to scale quickly and they like what they see, they'll likely follow on as well. So there are a lot of cons with VCs as well. So first is on the time. They talk to hundreds, if not thousands of businesses, and you just become a number in that, especially when you first start pitching to them. The second thing is once you're actually nearly done and you've signed a term sheet, there's a lot of something called due diligence where they send people in to look at the minutiae of your business and make sure that actually what you've said is what the business is, which can be very time consuming. And then finally, there's things like incubators and grants that you can get from the government. There's loads of stuff out there where if you Google it, it'll be maybe from your old university or something from the government. The great thing about this is that it's funding with no strings attached. And finally, bank loans. As I highlighted earlier, it's very difficult for new businesses to get a loan because of the fact that you need a track record and to show money coming in the first place.
Thanks, Adnan. So a very early stage of our business. So VCs and angel investors sounds quite scary. So what are my best options in that case?
That's a great question. I think you shouldn't be worried about angel investors. Angel investors are, this is what they want to do. They want to invest a small amount of money in very early stage businesses. So there's a load of angel networks out there that if you have a quick Google, you'll come across. And they're actively looking for these opportunities themselves anyway. But the other options, of course, are friends and family. Some of the best businesses where they started out, they borrowed money from friends and family. And finally, grants. There are a ton out there, as I mentioned earlier, and they're readily available as well. The application process can be quite long, but it's a source of funding that's easily available.
Cool. Thank you, Adnan. So now we're going to move on to our second part, pitching. So Adnan, what 3 best top tips would you give for crafting the perfect pitch and delivering it?
Yeah, I think the first one, and for me, one of the most important one, is that you have to have a positive attitude towards investors. Investors aren't there to trip you up. What they really want to know is understanding your business. So the situations can sometimes get quite defensive if you feel like they're, really trying to rip your business apart. But ultimately, they just want to understand, is this business what you say it is? And how is it actually going to make money? So they just want to understand it. So it's very important that you go in with that attitude. Know your numbers. So, very often people will ask you random questions, whether it's revenue, whether it's about cost of acquisition, your cost base. They want to know the assumptions that you have behind them. So you should be able to talk to those numbers in a very educated way. And finally, practice. And I'm not saying, go in front of a mirror or practice with yourself. You actually need to practice with people that have no understanding of your business. Because if they don't understand what you're saying, an investor won't understand what you're saying. So, grab your partner, grab your kids, grab your mum and dad or anyone else and practice.
So what best guidance could you give our viewers that if they succeed with the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, the best things happen, right? You've managed to successfully raise money, you've got all this money, what do you do with it? Well, the first thing is that you've already addressed that question when you presented your financial plan and you pitched to investors. So you already have a plan. Your first step should be to stick with it. But I would say, a lot of companies, what the first hurdle that they fall at is they get a big injection of money and then it just grows the cost base. They spend a lot on marketing or things that they hadn't thought they would have the money to do. And actually, there's a case to say the less money you have, the better your business is to start with. The second point for me is flexibility. So just because you've presented a plan, you don't have to stick to it rigorously. There's changing demand. The market's changed, customer demand changed. So you need to be able to respond to that. The third thing is milestones. So you may have agreed milestones with your investors for them to release funding. And it's very important that you hit those milestones. So however you spend your money, make sure that whether it's sales, whether it's number of customers, that you really do hit those milestones. And finally, runway. So you should know how long that capital is going to last you. If you change your plan, what does that do to your runway? Does it extend it? Does it make it shorter? Because then the next thing you think about is, okay, when do I actually need to go and raise more capital in order to support my business?
Cool. And what guidance would you give if you don't get money?
No one wants to be in that position, but it does happen, and it will happen more often than not. I would say you have to keep trying. You have to keep networking. Other investors may get your businesses better, and iterate your plan, because maybe it's something in your plan or your business that doesn't make sense. Get feedback. Ask for feedback.
So we know that Starling has raised over 600 million in investments to date. So clearly, Adnan, we must be doing something right. So with your guidance for our viewers, how would we go about writing a business plan? And where would you start?
So there's 2 really important questions which you would have hopefully addressed when you thought about starting a business and now that you've actually started one. But they're really important to revisit before this process. So first of all, is there a market? Is there actually demand for your product or service? However, having said that, to quote Patrick Collinson from Stripe, he actually said that, I don't know who my customer is going to be. So that's always not a foolproof test, but it's very important to understand and know if there's actually demand. The second point is your business scalable? Can you maintain a low fixed cost base, layer revenue on top of that, and actually achieve economies of scale? So
that's certainly 2 great important points there, Adnan. So for our viewers watching, what are practical tips for businesses?
I think the first one is your financial metrics, right? So, investors like talking about things like unit economics, cost per acquisition. I think it's really knowing those metrics, understanding what drives those for your business, but also thinking about how to best present your plan. So there are certain metrics that present your business in a better light. So for example, if you're talking about daily sales volumes, you'll have seasonality in that, right? So a better way to present that, to show, a trend increasing upwards, would be not to show it a daily or a monthly, but to show a rolling average, for example. So choose the metrics that present your business in the best light. The other one is really know your plan. So just iterating on a point from earlier, make sure you know your numbers, because ultimately what people do is they'll question your assumptions. They'll question what the drivers are for your revenue, for your cost base. Don't be overly aggressive. Don't go with all guns blazing, but think about actually what's realistic and what could you achieve if you stretched yourself. Because often what investors do is they'll haircut your plan. So if you go, really all out, they will just cut it by 50% and say, actually, we think this is what your business can do and this is what it's worth. If you go in with something realistic or a stretch, they will still haircut it, but it won't be the same level. So, back yourself with your plans and projections. And finally, know your story and make sure you're consistent with that story. So whether it's, providing organic fruit and veg for all customers across the UK easily and at affordable prices, if that's your story, if that's your message, you need to make sure you're consistent with that.
For those watching that are interested in what goes into a business plan, what tips could you give?
I won't outline everything that should be in one, but I'll pick out some key areas, and hopefully you can see it on the list on the screen. So the first one is having an exec summary. So have a single page which really explains your business and gets to the core of what your offering is. Have a team and background section. So ultimately, investors aren't investing in the business, they're also investing in you, and any investment is a partnership. So they want to see you succeed, and they want to understand who they're actually investing their money into. A brief overview of your products and services, your marketing, so how you're actually going to go and acquire those customers. Often that's a very large spend area for most businesses, so they want to get to the bottom of that. And finally, have a backup plan in case.
Well, that's it, folks. We do really hope that you enjoyed the session. If you've got any further questions, please do send them in, or you can visit starlingbank.com. And once again, thanks for watching.